Good afternoon, Elliot. Is your how's the weather looking there?
Um, Gray, but so far it's just thank goodness liquid precipitation. Well, obviously, we've had a little bit of snow, but nothing that's sticking. So far it's okay.
Is Elliot frozen or am I frozen? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that came through. So
I don't know if it was, I think it might be me.
okay. No, everything's okay so far. So far, we're supposed to switch over to freezing rain tonight, so that could be interesting. But it is what it is.
Yeah, here the university shut down, as you know, yesterday or this last night, and it still doesn't seem so bad. But it is everything is kind of closed. The internet has been very spotty here, so
Interesting.
that's why we'll get you going, and then we'll see what happens. But that's um, I think a byproduct of that for everyone else who's joining here. At the University of Alabama, here we are closed for the day, and so we're all working or not all, a handful of us are working from home because the university is shut down. I see Charity is on, so she's decided to join and um, at least be present. Probably not working, but it is playing havoc on our internet. So we'll be aware of if it sounds like nothing's going to be impeding you in the presentation.
Yeah, just shoot out some, if issues start. I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to see on the call while I'm presenting. So just,
Okay.
feel free to shoot out some information if things start going a little
Okay.
haywire.
I'll
So
do that. Yeah, and you can go ahead and share your screen and make sure that works. You're ready to do that, and then I'll go ahead and get ready to do the introduction. As people are coming on in, welcome everyone.
yeah, I don't remember where the button
Okay,
is.
well, almost to 2 o'clock. I will wait for the grand introduction until 2 o'clock, but certainly welcome everyone in that's coming into the room. We have our next our first for this year for 2025 webinar. As you know, we've had a series of these and tried to do them about once every month, every other month. In some cases, when we have big events happening or other things happening, we haven't done one of these, but we've been trying to get a someone that is more on the operation side to come and give a presentation about what they do and how they use information and how they might connect to or use research from the consortium. And so that this is the continuing of those types of seminars that we broadcast and we host. And for this particular one, we're really excited to welcome Dr. Elliot Wickham to the webinar series to talk about a particular area of application related to drought and low stream flow prediction. Elliot is been with us for a few months, and I guess it's gone fast. I guess it's a little bit more than 2 months, almost 3 months, and it's been a whirlwind for Elliot to get up to speed, and he's got a very unique position. And I like to highlight that he's got three types of titles. So he's within CIROH. He's a hydrologic scientist at the Alabama Water Institute and University of Alabama employee, but he serves as a bridge between the National Water Center and NIDIS. For National Water Center, he's the community lead for drought and water resources, and for NIDIS, he's the Southeast Drought Regional Coordinator or the DEWS coordinator. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Wickham for this presentation. And what he's going to do is talk about that unique combination of hats that he wears and how he's approaching this as he's had a few months on the job to be able to sort out how he's going to approach this. And this is in particular his title as it shows. He's developing this multi-partnership approach to strengthen low flow predictability and improve drought early warning systems and decision support tools. So he is a key person for connecting research related to drought and low flow in the consortium to applications in the Water Center, in NIDIS, and in his role as the Southeast Dues Coordinator and other dues coordinators. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Elliot and let him take it from here. Thanks for joining today. Elliot, over to you.
Yep. Thank you, Steve. And also, just if someone wants to give me a thumbs up or something, just make sure that the screen is up. So is that you can see the? Okay, great.
All looks good.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, so I've been with CIROH now for started the beginning of November. So I can't believe that it's already been 2 months. It's flown by. Um, I'll get into it, but yeah, there's a lot that's going on in my position, and it's a lot of ultimately what it boils down to is leveraging the relationships between the National Water Center and Office of Water Prediction, CIROH, and NIDIS for better drought early warning, specifically on the low flow hydrology side of things. Um, so the project that I'm working on, or that I've been brought on to do this, is a multi-partnership approach in strengthening low flow predictability to improve drought early warning and decision support tools. Excuse me, maybe over here. All right. So before starting at this job or in this position, my background, I've been educationally all over, history and geography degree from East Carolina, and then doctorate in natural resources management from University of Nebraska, focusing on drought risk assessment. And then after that, worked with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources at the State Climate Office as their water resource climatologist. And in that role, I was the coordinator for the U.S. Drought Monitor process in the state. And I also assisted with the state's specific drought task force. And some of the work that I did there was working with water systems to update their local drought management plans that they're required to have, and participated in the river basin planning process that was set up for future water planning in the state, as well as the precursor for the overall state plan that they're working on. So now, as I said, I've been with CIROH and for two months or so, and I am hydrologic scientist working with CIROH at the National Water Center. I am the community lead for drought and water resources, and then with NIDIS, which is the National Integrated Drought Information System, I'm the Southeast Dues Coordinator. So what that means is I wear a lot of hats, balancing between NIDIS, National Water Center, and CIROH, working those three together. And I will be doing so with a lot of coffee. So getting into these specific roles, for those that are not familiar with the National Water Center, their mission is to promote collaboration across the scientific community, serving as both a catalyst to accelerate the transition of research into operation and a center of excellence of water resources, science, information, and predictive services. And these services inform essential emergency management and water resources decisions across all timescales, including drought, low flow risk, and information needs for routine and long range water management and planning. So, while the Water Center does multiple things, I've been brought in for that specific drought, low flow, water management component of their mission, to fill that need. Currently, the National Water Center, they have their hydrologic assessment products and services. They have 7, and most of these focus on flooding or normal water level to flooding situations. My job is to figure out what drought products are needed and how to integrate them in the current National Water Center products. And so as we go through with this role that I'm in, that's going to be a discussion on whether the drought component gets fit in with these products that already exist, or if they become new products that are added to the suite of products that exist, expanding what current products are out there. I'm not sure how many people on the call have heard of NIDIS, the National Integrated Drought Information System. It is within NOAA, specifically within their Office of or Atmospheric Research arm. They are set up to improve the nation's capacity to proactively manage drought-related risks, provided those affected with the best available information and resources to assess potential for drought and better prepare for, mitigate, and respond to the effects of drought. And to achieve this goal, NIDIS will create a drought early warning system, or a DEWS, for the nation. So a DEWS is made up of these 5 essential parts: observation, monitoring, research, and applications. Excuse me. Sorry. I had a thing pop up on my command there. Sorry. Communication and outreach, prediction and forecasting, and then planning and preparedness. And so a DEWS uses new and existing partners, networks, drawing on the expertise of federal, tribal, state, local, and academic and private sector partners to make climate and drought science readily available, easily understandable, and usable for decision makers. Excuse me. Developing a national consistent DEWS requires more than a one-size-fits model. So multiple regional DEWS were created. And there are 8 of them currently, and this is kind of shifted through time, but currently we have 8. And the one that I will be in charge of working with will be the Southeast DEWS. However, I will be partnering with the other 7 DEWS in relation to what their needs are for low flow, and how those needs can be addressed by CIROH or helped by CIROH, and vice versa. So connecting the other DEWS with CIROH and how they can partner for filling the needs for those other DEWS. In the Southeast, there's seven states: Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. And some of the products that we put out, we have a strategic action plan that is currently going through 2025. So we should be having, hopefully, another partners meeting later this year if everything works out, and that will build upon this current action plan, but also address where we need to go after 2025. And then we've maybe 3 years ago, I guess at this point, released a drought planning paper or report on drought planning in the Southeast. And pretty much hot off the press, I think it came out beginning of December, maybe at the end of November. This drought impact reporting process for the agricultural sector came out, and this is specifically for the Southeastern United States. So there's definitely a lot of communication and collaboration for the needs and what can we do about it in the Southeast for drought. So in this role, I will be coordinating the Southeast DEWS network to provide information specific to the regional needs, serve as a regional resource for information for entities and organizations involved with drought early warning, convene NIDIS meetings, which I just mentioned, workshops and webinars to work with partners, collaborators, and stakeholders in the region, review, evaluate, and manage NIDIS funded research within the Southeast DEWS. And then moving on to the two of the third hats that I wear in this role, switching over to the National Water Center under the Office of Water Prediction with National Weather Service. Engage the stakeholders to inform research to the National Weather Service and the National Water Center related to hydrology and low flow conditions. Work with stakeholders to enhance and delivery use of hydrologic prediction research and operational products for drought early warning applications. Collaborate on research and development on how low flow criteria can be integrated with National Water Center and their hydrologic ensemble forecast service, and develop networks to implement and integrate drought monitoring, forecasting, and planning preparedness in the Southeast region. And then, not that they're in any specific order, but the third out of these three triangles that I have here, working with CIROH, so integrating CIROH research, bringing CIROH research into further into National Weather Service and Water Center, as well as to NIDIS and their activities through stakeholder engagement. Research focus on risk assessment, planning, forecasting, monitoring, impact collection, and decision support tools for hydrologic drought. Coordinate with integration of CIROH projects into National Weather Service and National Water Center operations related to drought and water supply forecasting, and also liaise with the National Weather Service river forecast centers and other DEWS coordinators, the National Water Center on the integration of NIDIS information and approaches for National Weather Service impact-based decision support services. So putting these three together, I'm sure that going through some of those, we heard drought, work with partners, work with stakeholders. There's a lot of overlap with the needs for these three entities and leveraging the resources among them for drought early warning. So putting them together, engaging national and regional stakeholders and partners to guide research on improving drought early warning, and specifically for hydrologic drought and low flow prediction, for how prediction tools can be disseminated and applied for decision making. And in the form of or related to this webinar's focus with operations to research, when we break this down, the first part, the action, engaging national and regional stakeholders and partners, using that to guide research on improving drought early warning, specifically for hydrologic drought and low flow prediction, and then bringing that back out again to action for how these prediction tools can be disseminated for and applied to decision making. So I know, like I said, that I've only been been on this for two months. There's a lot to take in, but there's three things of many, but three things that I'll focus on here that I'm getting started with. One of them has been reviewing CIROH research projects for drought applications for the National Water Center and NIDIS. So if you're working in the drought space, or you have projects that you have been working on, or maybe you've submitted in the 2025 research cycle, look out from an email for me, because I'm going to be following up, wanting to speak with you about more about your projects and how those applications or the findings and the outcomes of those projects can be related to the National Water Center, if they're not already. I know that some are, but also too with the needs of NIDIS, both in terms of the national or my DEWS, the Southeast, but also the other 7 DEWS as well. And I know that I have a double-sided arrow here as well for both the national, for NIDIS and the Office of Water Prediction. So although I'm reviewing the current proposals, this is something that, working with NIDIS and the National Water Center, this is something where, discussing their needs, I can bring this to CIROH to help facilitate discussions on needed research and what can be done as well. So it's definitely a two-way street. It's not only one direction. Another one that I've been brought in on, that's already been going on since before I started. NIDIS is developing a Mississippi River Basin drought and water dashboard. And what that is working on is the whole Mississippi, working really with the Army Corps of Engineers, but also having conversations with partners such as USGS and the the U.S. Coast Guard, really trying to bring together and develop a dashboard for drought information across the entire river basin. So that is still in development, but I can show a very small snippet of kind of what that's going to look like um, from that's already developed in another project. Um, so currently there's the Apalachicola Chattahoochee Flint ACF River Basin drought and water dashboard. I have links to both of these here that you can see, but I can share this presentation afterwards so you have the links to them. But basically, these dashboards have different data sets in there that you can click through for the given area that show the conditions that you're looking at. Right here, I have stream flow shown on top of the U.S. drought monitor layers. But there's also lake and level forecasts. There's precip, soil moisture. And when these are built, they're based on the stakeholder. We don't arbitrarily just pick these and put them in. These are based on what the stakeholders need in the region for understanding their current water and drought situation. So that's a current live example of what the dashboard may look like. The same look and feel, but the data may be different once it's live. And then also currently are going to start working with the river forecast centers and the weather field or the weather forecast offices, excuse me, WFOs for drought and low flow thresholds. So that's 13 river forecast centers. I didn't actually count how many WFOs there are before throwing this up, but as you can see, there's many of them. So working with them on their information for their drought and low flow needs and how that gets communicated into things like NWIPS, the National Weather Water Prediction Service. Here, I have a station, which I'll show up here in a minute, in the Louisville WFO, which is also in the Ohio River RFC or River Forecast Center. This is actually a more unique site because currently, if you click on it, and it's the Barron River at Bowling Green site, you can see down at the bottom, they have this low flow threshold, which most of these forecasts or these, gauges, if you click on them back on the last map, they don't have that. These were the ones the seldom that do. They were given based on the National Weather Service and their conversations. Like I think this one may have been with the Corps, but I'm not sure. So making my job will be working with them to create, hopefully for all of the gauges that that are in NWIPS, and figuring out what those thresholds are and what they mean to hopefully different stakeholders or decision makers in the area, which is a pretty large task. So I know pretty soon I'll be going down to the Southeast River Forecast Center and starting there, talking with them about what we can do about that. So those are 3 projects that I'm working on now. And Steve, I want to say thank you for letting me present here on kind of my position, the situation of my position and working and leveraging resources, being a liaison between these 3 entities on how we can get better information for low flow drought predictability, for drought early warning. And so thank you for that, and also for everyone that participated. And if you have any questions for me, that's my email. But for those, like I said earlier, that I know that they've been working on, that are on this call, and they've been working in the drought research space, they're probably going to hear from me pretty soon, email wise. So.
Thank you, Elliot. A nice round of applause there. Well organized presentation and very informative. I open it for questions in the chat or open the mic. I also have a few questions. Before getting to the questions, though, I do realize that we're going to have to get you a present when you arrive back in Tuscaloosa for the visit. We need to get you. I just posted it in the chat. We need to get you a nice Alabama sweater. Wearing the Cornhusker sweaters. We'll have an Alabama one.
That's fair. It could
One
be
for
worse. It's
you.
not. At least I'm not wearing an Auburn shirt or something. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. That's you would have had a technical difficulty if that had happened here.
yeah.
Okay, I see we're getting some questions in the chat, so I'll go ahead and review that one, and then we'll see if we get others. Can you comment on how your work will connect to other NIDIS efforts, such as recent NIDIS RFP that have proposals due in December? The non-stationarity one probably is what Dave is referring to, maybe.
Yeah. So, let's see. So, yeah, I've got on. Yeah. So the work with that RFP, the drought assessment in a changing climate. Um, I my work with that will probably be related more so to that was a that was I'm trying to think. So anything that comes out of that research that can be, I think that, when information comes out about which projects are accepted, bringing that information to the Southeast dues court, so my region, and how anything like that can be relevant to the Southeast, but also um, any of that research. The other dues coordinators will be aware of any like of the RFPs that go into that, and if that research is relevant to their information. That being said, if it's more generally low flow information rather than like for a specific area or a specific index or something like that that's being discussed, that will be my job in terms of connecting what research is being done for that proposal and how that can be applied for other needs within the NIDIS dues regions. Don't know if that helps answer that question or not.
Yeah, I mean, so it does partly, I guess that NIDIS call was sort of national and maybe to some degree Southwest
Mhm.
focused. And I guess I'm just curious, we've got, I guess CIROH has mostly been flood oriented, and the latest white paper process was mostly, yeah, I guess the needs that we got articulated from NOAA were mostly flooding, and now we're moving into drought. So it would have been good to write white papers on drought, but we wrote white papers on floods.
Well, and I mean, for the NIDIS component for the Southwest, for anything that goes in there, like from a CIROH perspective, that is 100% my job to be the connection from CIROH to the NIDIS needs. So, like if you have a Southwest focus, I will be working with my partner, depending on where in the Southwest that is. It could cover up to 2 coordinators, maybe more than that, but it depending. But that would be my job to work with them on connecting you guys to them, depending on the research. And then, yeah, I hope that answers. So yeah, if you ever have questions related to, I think this is a broader thing. If you ever have drought research questions, that may be more regionally specific, in relation, well, it doesn't have to be in relation to low flow. If you just need a connection to a region, feel free to reach out to me, because I can definitely get you in touch with who that needs to be at that regional level, or like the other regions within NIDIS. So
And Elliot, as you look at the next question from Asim that's in the chat, I'll highlight to Dave's comment about the previous set of white papers. The next set of white papers is just around the corner. As you know, it's every year on the dot. So you've got about 8 months to get ready and start planning out. So that's the hope with these seminars, and is to be able to start to make connections and plan out for future submissions, as well as adapting some of the ongoing work to things that Elliot can point you to. Next question, Elliot, from Asim.
Yeah. So does DEWS differentiate between issuing meteorological, agricultural, and hydrologic droughts in focal basins? So usually when we're putting information out, we are not so like I'll just go with that like ACF basin that I showed. None of the data that we have, like we run the website that shows that information, but we're pulling from different data sets that exist currently based on stakeholder needs that need to be shown in there. So we're not, I guess we're not the creators of the data. We're pulling from other sources. That being said, the coordinators, when there's a drought that's happening, we have these things called drought status updates, and we will write them based on the need of getting drought information out. Sometimes they focus on a whole region. Sometimes they focus on a specific area of a region, depending on the focal needs for a specific basin. I know that we do things like, for in the Southeast, we have information that goes out specifically of the ACF basin, and that will discuss all of those information. So agricultural, meteorological, hydrologic impacts, what's going on, response. We've had forestry in there as well. But that mechanism is set up for that basin. Already have a discussion about it. I don't think we've done it specific for, maybe like one example would be the Catawba Wateree Basin that flows between North and South Carolina. That would not be, I don't think we've ever written one specifically about that basin. It's more regional specific. But we do put out information about each specific region going on, and those go out. The best way to get information about a region that you're in would be, and I can put it in the chat. I just have to pull it real quick. Is you can sign up for, each DEWS puts out, they have email blasts that go out, and those are where the drought status updates go out. And so if you're part of that listserv, it will give you information, like the information will just be pumped to you through your email, if that's something that people are interested in. And when you go ahead and sign up for it, if you give me a moment, I can pull it up real quick. And if you sign up, when you go to sign up for them, you can choose how you sign up for, like which basins you sign up for. So being a NIDIS coordinator, I'm signed up for all of them. So I get even ones for like the Pacific Northwest and stuff like that. But if you go to that website, it will let you sign up for, it gives you a bunch of check boxes that you would like to check. And the one that you're probably interested in is the regional mailing lists. That's in the bottom right-hand corner of that. And if you click on the drop down, it'll let you choose what you would like to sign up for. But as you can see, except for the Missouri River Basin, which is a whole DEWS, and then the ACF, that one does not have, other than those two basins, there's not like a specific basin where you can just like pick and get specific information for. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. And then second is action impact information integrated with DEWS or any other plans towards these goals. So I guess, let's see, I'm going to go back to Are you for that question, in issuing drought forecasts, oh, sorry, I'm bouncing around here. Action impact information integrated with dues or any plans towards these goals. I think in relation, let me go back up here. The impact and action impact information with the dues. The goals for each dues is different based on, they each have their own strategic drought action plan. So what their goals are, in relation to action and impact, our actions in NIDIS are to disseminate information on what's happening, but the action to handle drought impacts, that's not coming from NIDIS. That's usually coming from the entities that are handling drought at that specific area, whether that be state or federal partners. And then issuing drought forecasts. Our entity does not do that. I would say the entity that probably does that the most right now would be the climate prediction center, so CPC, where they have kind of, with their climate outlooks, they also have a drought component with that, where they're kind of giving the likelihood of if drought is going to develop, persist, can't think of the word right now, I apologize, but become less severe, and or kind of stay where it's at. But those are more long-term forecasts, and they're related to the U.S. Drought Monitor. They're not also based on any specific metric, other than rainfall inputs. But there's nothing in there currently about if stream flow values are going to improve or soil moisture is going to improve with those. I hope that answers those questions.
Hey, Elliot, I was going to interject here just because this question seems related to your previous employer, and where I know that you had just recently completed, before you started with us, the drought mitigation plan for utilities, I believe. So, talking about that, your experience on that level and how that relates to your current job and
sure.
Especially in the Southeast, where this will be like basically now you'll be connecting to your old
Sure.
office, new replacement for you.
Sure. So that was it was the drought planning guidebook for South Carolina, and it was a resource that we created where, so in that state, water utilities are supposed to have a drought plan that follows kind of a fill in the blank document that is required by South Carolina law. The need for that document came from water systems not having targeted information on like how to help them make a strong plan other than like filling in information. So that came from me talking with different water utilities of different size and geography across the state to figure out what their needs are and what would be best transferable actions that could be put in that document that could be used for other utilities while they're updating their plan. In relation to my role now, that's that stakeholder work in terms of what information is needed, but also what information can be taken and be used, not just like in one location, but how is that information transferable to other components across the Southeast? But also too, and then working with CIROH, the National Water Center, working with stakeholders across the country for low flow needs and how that can be implemented for low flow predictability and decision support tools. I don't know if that answers that question, Steve.
Yes, it does. And thanks for that answer. I'll let you look at the next question from David Maidman that's in the chat and digest it. I'll highlight a little bit for the group here that Elliot he's a remote employee, so he's still living in South Carolina. He does come to Tuscaloosa for visits about once every couple months, and so that's a time where people that are at Alabama or visiting can connect with him. He also will be present at some of the events that we have, the developers conference, for example. He's planning a workshop for that. I believe is still in the works, and in the science meeting and other things connected to CIROH. He's going to be attending as well as his role with the Water Center in NIDIS. So you'll be able to connect with him in person in multiple ways, and of course virtually.
Yeah.
Elliot, back over to you for the next question.
It wasn't actually a question. It was more of just a statement that the water model is used in Texas. And so David, I guess it's not really a question, but I will say that I will definitely be following up with you. And David, if you don't mind, would you be willing to put your email in the chat? If not, I can get it from Steve and Charity, but it'd be great. And then I can just shoot you an email about that.
Yeah, let me just say, Elliot, that we started working with our Texas Commission for Environmental Quality on this problem about 25 years ago, when George Bush was our governor, actually. He became president. That's how long ago it was. And we've been doing it ever since. So we've been supporting this activity. And we built a kind of a quasi water model for Texas from the River Forecast Center's prediction model before the National Water Center got started. And gradually that activity transitioned over into using the National Water Model itself. And the way that the model is used is that the Texas Commission for Environmental Quality has ditch riders that go out, sheriff, they call them deputies, yeah, they monitor actually what low flow conditions are and who's pulling water out of the river. And they have to check on the water allocations as to everybody can turn their pumps on for a certain length of time, then they have to shut them off and they have to report how much water they pumped to the TCEQ. And the water model is used basically by the monitoring staff to watch what's going on the rivers while this process is happening.
Okay. Yeah, that's really great information. You will most definitely be hearing from me. So.
And Elliot, I have sent you David's email.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
And so you'll
Perfect.
have it and you can follow up. And I do think that is realize, Elliot is very interested in visiting people and hearing about these things. And he's going to be traveling to different parts for the NIDIS role and for the Water Center, as he noted. And so if you're looking for connecting with him in person, having him visit you, certainly reach out, and he's of course going to constrain all of his travel, but if something aligns where he's in a place and he can stop over and visit with someone from the consortium for an hour or two, I think he's very willing and interested to do that. Looking for other questions in the chat or open your mics while we're waiting for that. Elliot, I was going to ask a question, something that I don't think we've talked about yet, but might be useful as I was seeing you highlight some of the reports and other information that has been created by NIDIS. It might be useful to have like a recommended set of readings for people that we could circulate to the consortium. Like here's 2 or 3 or 4 reports that based on your experience would be very insightful for people. I know that you're gleaning information from all the strategic plans, and you're going to provide a summary in the future related to that, all the strategic plans for the DEWS regions, and that was going to be something we were going to use to understand the needs across those for research purposes. But there might be something just for general information about drought, about the DEWS. If there is a sort of a reading summary, reading list that you could provide, I think it'd be valuable for the consortium to have that.
Absolutely. And I'll also follow up with that too, Steve, and something that you and I have kind of talked about is, and I'll open it up to the consortium, is if you have, I know I've already said, if you have questions, don't feel free to reach out in general, but if you have like specific questions about like research needs in relation to drought, and you have questions about, applications or anything like that, feel free to reach out about that too. It doesn't just necessarily have to be questions about, like, I need to get in touch with the person that's covering Montana, who do I need to do that with? It can be research focused in terms of, hey, we're thinking about doing this. How would this fit in with, NIDIS's needs, and would you mind reviewing or answering questions about that? That's something that is well within my job description. So kind of giving targeted advice about that, like research and stuff. So
Great, thanks, Elliot. I made a note for that one. And you got another question from John Niebuhr at the University of Minnesota. That's in the chat.
let's see. Currently dealing with. Yes. So, and I think it's not just. Yes, it absolutely is. John, anything that is dealing with drought prediction and early warning, but then also the follow-up of like, how do we use that information and how we respond to it? That is definitely within the purview of NIDIS. I might also ask John that I might be, or John, you and I reach or have a conversation too about that, and whether that's something I can answer all your questions, or we get the conversation started and then I need to put you in touch with the person that covers your area. I'd be happy to do that too. I think Juicer has a question as well.
Yeah, thank you, Elliot. I'm now off. You hear me or not, but I
Yep.
appreciate your reply. I would very much like to be able to talk to you about this in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, sorry, I can ask the questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thanks, Elliot. Yeah, we met. This is the second time I'm listening to your presentation. Okay, you had done the presentation in Tuscaloosa last time. Thanks very much. So I think I don't know, but I think I mentioned to you that there are quite a few new systems around in the world. And I think I should come back to you. I didn't get a chance to sit around and then get that information back to you. But I think next time when you are in Tuscaloosa, maybe we should just go on one-on-one and then check it and then think about it and I can outlay what other information are there. But second thing is that you are talking about the RFCs, and RFCs, I know that they normally work. I mean, CHIPS is being considered sort of a flood early warning systems and not really a drought early warning systems. But RFC does a lot of work with multiple stakeholders. For example, I had worked with North Central RFC. They work a lot with the U.S. Army Corps regarding the Mississippi River drought testing. The Northeast RFC works a lot with the New York City for their water supply planning. And so they indirectly, I mean, there's a lot of things on the drought side also. I'm not very sure about the Southeast RFC. I don't know whether they do something like that way for, like you showed the example of ACF basin. But I guess most of the data are on the dashboard are coming either from USGS or comes from the RFCs, basically, I guess. But I think last time I asked a question about the early warnings, because how long, I mean, how early the news basically gives the early warnings to the stakeholders or to the people who are in the city or interested in something.
Sure.
Is it like that way? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So in terms of an early warning system, I guess the best way to put this is we're not the ones. NIDIS is not the system that's like saying this is what's going to happen in like 3 weeks. What our system is you bring together the region in terms of what the regional needs are, building capacity so that at the local level for the different sectors, state agencies, federal partners across the region, that they are working together based on their capacities and what they're trying to plan for and protect, that they are taking the steps and they have the capacities. So NIDIS is basically helping give the capacity for those local or that region to prepare themselves and take steps to for drought early warning. I hope that answers your question. So it's not like we're not like the forecast information center of drought.
Yes.
We're building capacity among the regions so that amongst here, I'll bring that wheel back up here.
It's like building up the resilience.
Yes.
Of that thing. Okay.
We're building the network through these. I don't know if that screen's still up, Steve. But built through these 5 components, NIDIS helps build that capacity for those specific regions so that they are prepared for both. The early warning part is that observation and monitoring component, but then also how that plays out as the drought goes forward of, or I guess that's prediction forecast too, but and the communication, the planning, and all of that comes from research and across the region and transferability and how we can build capacity on those. So
yeah, got it. I think I had not seen this one that you have shown one of the example about the Ohio River. It has got a low flow threshold. I think I've not seen for all the RFCs and all the places, but it would be interesting for me to look into it and then see which one are using it and which one what they are doing.
Yeah,
but
so that low
yeah.
flow one, yeah. So most don't have that.
Yes.
Someone, I didn't even, when I first started, I didn't even realize that happened until I was on a call with. We were doing one of the Mississippi partner calls, and then after the call for this presentation, or I guess a couple of weeks ago, I had a question about it and I had to sit there. I knew it was like kind of in this box, the United States, but I had to sit there and click and figure out where it was. Yeah. And I finally got lucky after about 4 minutes or so. So not all of them, most of them don't have it. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be working on, is not with the different RFCs and the WFOs of how we get that information in there, and not just picking an arbitrary number and throwing it on there, but what the best value or values are and how that can be applied. And that's pretty specific information for each one of those points.
Yeah.
So when you're going through and clicking through them, you might get a lot of empties on there. So don't, be aware of that it could be a while till you find one that actually has that low flow thing. And then also noting too that it may not necessarily line up with what's actually needed for low flow targets for impacts across the board in that area.
So one thing that comes to mind here, Elliot, is when you visit, you should set up a meeting with Juicer, and I think get his insight from the RFCs. I think it would be really valuable. Also, there was a request in the chat for your email, so maybe go to your final slide again.
Sure.
So that Anna Barros can have your email.
Putting it in the chat too, but I'm also I'll go back to that last slide.
Perfect.
So
yeah,
let's see. Juicer, do you have another question? Or?
No, I didn't have a question, but I say, okay, Elliot, we should meet next time. Really, maybe we can set up some systems in Alabama AWI to do something about more information about the dues.
For sure,
I would be very interested.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Other questions? Open your mic or put in the chat. The chat is clear right now. Other questions? All right. Well, this was an excellent full hour. Thank you so much, Elliot, for providing us this information. There is another chat item that was tossed in by Donna Rizzo from University of Vermont about their title of their project and making some connections. So that's exactly what we wanted to happen. Making connections, a lot of good ideas were shared, and I think there's some good action items to follow up on, and definitely will be the case. You all have Elliot's email and know what he's all about, and he'll continue to contact you and you contact him, and we'll go forward with a lot of this new work and directions related to drought and low flow prediction. Thanks so much, Elliot, for joining. Thank you all for joining on this, and we'll see some of you next week at the American Meteorological Society conference. And if not then, Elliot, we'll see you in 2 weeks in Tuscaloosa, or I guess a week and a half. It's coming fast, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah,
Yeah.
little over a week. So,
All right, cool. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
thank you, you too.